terrible, terrible war in Gaza. And you've had very strong views, but you've also given a platform. How did you find yourself at the heart of the global conversation on Gaza?
I would say two words, Bassem Youssef, actually, who I know has spoken at this event before. When the war started, we were having a lot of very fiery debates with people from both sides coming on. And I think it was when Bassem came on and he did this extraordinary half-hour interview, which was kind of darkly comedic in the way he presented it, but making very powerful points. And it got 22 million people watched it on the YouTube channel we had. And we realised then that this was going to be, you know, a massive story for us, and that people were coming to us in big numbers to hear both sides of this debate as it was raging. I then went to Los Angeles and interviewed Bassem again in the Comedy Store, which is where he's performed in LA, for 2 hours this time. And he took me on a big, long history lesson, frankly, about the whole conflict, 75 years, obviously from his perspective, but it was incredibly enlightening to me. And we formed a good friendship and a bond. He's been on again since. But for some reason, my show Uncensored became a fulcrum for the big debates. Yes. And I was unafraid to put people on. I mean, now I've had a lot of people in the Arab world criticize me for being too pro-Israeli. I would take issue with that. What I would say is I've always had more Palestinian supported guests on than probably any show in the world of the kind that I do. And I think I did that very deliberately. But there's no doubt that my own view, which was from the start that Israel had a fundamental right and duty to defend itself after that horrific attack on October the 7th. My question from the start was always, what is a proportionate response? And to me, what has been happening in recent weeks and months, especially since this blockade, but also the ferocious bombardments of the last few weeks in particular, to me has crossed a line. And I'm not alone. You know, there are now 2 former Israeli prime ministers who are condemning what Israel is doing as war crimes, calling it genocide openly, and saying it has to stop. So, you know, I think that, yes, my position has evolved and moved, but I'm definitely not overly defensive about the position I took early on. You know, I've always tried to be firm but fair, have both sides on, moderate passionate, heated debate, and try and get to some solution.
Because to your point about